I met Harry on a dating app, and from the very first message, he sounded like the antidote to everything I was tired of. I'd spent months wading through the usual parade, profiles holding fish, bios that said no drama like a warning label, men who wanted vibes and options, love bombers who planned Tuscany on date 2 and ghosted by Friday, breadcrumbers who texted, "You up?" at 1:07 a.m., and the let's not label it crowd who treated commitment like an allergy. I deleted the app, re-downloaded it, promised myself better, then sat through more coffees with men allergic to plans, men who said they wanted a family someday the way people say, "Someday I'll run a marathon," as an idea, not a training plan. I was tired of auditioning for the role of cool girl, tired of being reasonable about other people's uncertainty, tired of relationships that were really just extended trial periods. Harry's first note cut clean through that noise. No coy questions, no winking emojis, no late-night "you up." He wrote, "I'm 40. I want a serious relationship and a family. If you're not looking for that, I don't want to waste your time." That line should have been simply honest, but back then it sounded like safety, like a door closing on chaos and opening to the life I had always imagined. But now I have to hide together with my and Harry's child so he won't find us. My name is Savannah. I was 33 when I matched with him. I lived in my own little bungalow on a quiet street in Asheville, North Carolina, the kind with big, sheltering trees and front porches that make you wave at neighbors. I'd made peace with a simple routine: work, Pilates, Sunday calls to my mom, teas with a few solid friends. I'd almost accepted that I might never find someone truly family-oriented. Then came Harry, careful, direct, neat. He was as minimalist as his profile, a plain gray t-shirt and dark jeans in every photo, the same buzzed haircut, a background that never said much. On our first date, he arrived exactly on time. He sat with his shoulders straight and his phone face down on the table like a performer putting away props. He listened. He nodded. He asked questions about my job and my street and my favorite scent of candle. He talked about long hikes, about never being much of a drinker. "I don't play games," he said, the corner of his mouth lifting a little, and I thought, thank God. On our second date, he watched me smoke outside the restaurant and said gently, "Would you consider quitting? I care about health, about future." He said future the way you'd hold an egg, careful and precious. I told him I had been thinking about quitting for a while anyway, and he smiled, relieved and proud, as if I had passed a test neither of us had acknowledged. A week later, he gave me an envelope. Inside was a certificate for a full health check at a private clinic, the kind with white walls and soft lighting and herbal tea in the waiting room. "My treat," he said. "It's practical, not romantic." He laughed softly. "I'm not 25 anymore. I like to know things." I thought it was the sweetest grown-up gift anyone had ever given me. I went. They drew vials of blood, checked thyroid and iron, cholesterol, vitamins, the whole alphabet, and asked about my sleep, my stress, my grandmother's arthritis. It felt like someone turning the lights on in a room I'd been stumbling through. The next night, I walked into my home office and found Harry at my computer, glasses on, my results glowing on the screen, ranges highlighted, little flags he'd clearly read twice. He looked up, startled, then smoothed it over. "I just wanted to make sure you're healthy," he said. "For you." He kissed my forehead, tender as a nurse. In the morning, he arrived with vitamin D, a little low, he said, tapping the chart, common, and a bottle of folic acid. "The consultant told me every adult woman should take this," he added lightly, "just in case." He said it casually, but folic acid is the pre-pregnancy vitamin they push for a reason. You're supposed to have it in your system before conception to help prevent neural tube defects in a future baby. I swallowed the pills because it sounded like care. I didn't yet have the language for how care can overlap with surveillance, how tenderness can organize itself into control. I got pregnant the very next month. Harry was radiant, stunned for half a second and then overflowing, like someone had quietly been holding his breath for years. He kissed my hands, my forehead, my knuckles, repeating, "We're going to be parents," as if the words themselves could make a room safer. It scared me a little. He'd only known me 2 months. I still didn't know his middle name, his coffee order, what song he turned up in the car. But the fear slid under the bigger truth. This was what I wanted. A family, a child. The shape of a future I'd been tracing in my head since I could remember. He proposed the next day. No theatrics, just a small ring and a small box and that steady managerial calm of his. "Let's make it official," he said. "Let's give our baby a home." I didn't think long. When a dream finally arrives, you don't interrogate its timing. You open the door. We had a modest civil wedding 2 weeks later. I wore a simple white dress that tied at the back. 2 of my friends met us at the courthouse with a handful of daisies and a phone for photos. What I didn't understand, what I filed under minimalist instead of odd, was that none of his people came. No mother calling to cry on speaker, no best friend clapping his back, no cousin in an ill-fitting suit. "They live far," he said with a small shrug. "We're not very close." His phone, always face down, hardly rang. When it did, he declined quickly or stepped away and came back with the same even expression, as if nothing on the other end could surprise him. We signed papers, said vows so short they felt like a breath, and ate a quiet dinner afterward. He toasted with water. I told myself not to ruin a miracle by tugging at loose threads. A life was beginning. Surely the missing pieces would fill in later. Pregnancy hit me like a storm I hadn't seen on the forecast. I was sick morning to night. Coffee smelled like poison. I slept in shifts. The first red flag slid past me wearing superstition's mask. For a man so fixated on fatherhood, Harry refused to buy a single baby item. "It's a bad sign," he said, almost tender, as if protecting us from fate. We compromised. I made a careful wish list: stroller, bassinet, soft blankets, the dimmable lamp I loved, and he promised he'd purchase everything the day our daughter arrived. Meanwhile, he began a second job, disappearing most evenings with that same tidy briefcase, returning late and tired but with little to show for it. The deposits were small, irregular, numbers that didn't add up. But I told myself a story I preferred. He was saving, being prudent, stockpiling cash for the big after-birth buy. I wanted to believe in his plans so badly that I stopped listening to my own math. Still, unease collected in me like static. I'd catch him studying my list with a cool, appraising distance, as if it belonged to someone else's life. I felt something was off, an imbalance, a draft under the door I refused to seal because acknowledging it would mean admitting I'd invited the wind in. So I labeled it tradition, thrift, timing, anything but what it was, a boundary I should have questioned. The next red flag I should have named arrived as a person, Pamela, introduced as his sister. She showed up one afternoon when I was 8 months along, carrying lemon tea and a smile that never reached her eyes. From the moment she crossed my threshold, there was only one topic: the baby. She didn't ask who I was, what I did for a living, or how Harry and I had met. Nothing about me existed to her except my stomach. She touched my belly without permission, palming and patting like it was public property, and fired off questions about my weight gain, due date, birth plan. When she stood to leave, she leaned in to kiss my belly. I stepped back. The air went thin. I told Harry she scared me and asked that she never come back. He snapped, anger like a door slamming. "Pamela is the kindest person in the world. How can you talk about her that way?" I felt the room tilt. "Then why did you never mention her?" I asked. "Why didn't she come to our wedding?" He shrugged the word complicated, and goosebumps ran up my arms. Everything almost cracked right there. I kept moving forward because the calendar does, but from that moment, I didn't trust him the same way. I invited my mom, Ruth, to stay until the birth. Practical to her bones, calm as a spreadsheet, she arrived with groceries and a plan. Harry didn't like the idea, said I needed quiet, but I could barely move, and I told him cooking and cleaning might be dangerous for the baby. That made him agree, or at least stop arguing. With Mom in the house, the air steadied. She watched him the way mothers do, politely, completely, and I felt less alone inside my own life. Mary was born on a wet, thunder-pressed evening, the kind of storm that makes windows shiver and nurses say, "full moon energy." Labor came in dark, tidal waves, pain, breath, until the room narrowed to the sound of the monitor and Harry's voice at my ear. He held my hand the way you grip a railing on a swaying boat. When she finally cried, raw and outraged and alive, he cried too, a quick, stunned spill of tears that made me want so badly to trust everything again. For a few lit, floating minutes, I let myself believe we were exactly what we looked like. Two parents at the start line, awestruck and small beneath something holy. I felt emptied and full at once. The nurse tucked Mary against my chest, and her heat sank into me like a second heartbeat. I wanted the whole world to quiet down and promise it would never hurt her. They asked her name. "Mary," I said, my voice hoarse, thinking of my grandmother's hands and the way she said grace over ordinary days. Harry's answer came like a seam pulled tight. "I want to name her Stephanie," he said, a hard thread in his voice. We dreamt about it for years. We. The word dropped between us like a coin I didn't recognize. It clinked against the floor of my mind and rolled into a shadow I wasn't ready to look into. He corrected himself too quickly. I dreamt. I'm nervous. I should have asked why we. I should have said, who's we? Instead, I felt the sacredness of the moment tighten around me like a shell. I was split open, stitched, milk-wet and shaking, and the room still smelled like rain and antiseptic and the first hour of her life. I chose not to shatter it. "I promised my grandma I'd name my daughter Mary," I said. His eyes flashed. Love. Then something sharp under it. "I gave you a daughter," he murmured, low enough that the nurse didn't turn. "Give me the name." The sentence cut cleanly. I felt it more than heard it. My chest cinched with a mix of fury and fear and a grief I couldn't place yet. The grief of a dream slipping, molecule by molecule. He took Mary from my arms with ceremonial care and set her in the bassinet, his posture suddenly too straight, as if he were performing fatherhood for an invisible audience. "Well," he said lightly, already halfway out of the feeling, "she can change to Stephanie any time." He kissed my forehead, not looking at my eyes. "I have to go." The door clicked. The storm grumbled. I stared at the plastic rim of the bassinet and tried to steady my breath. Love and suspicion warred in the same space in me, and for the first time I understood that both could be true, could live side by side, while I held my daughter's hand and named her Mary, out loud again, so I wouldn't forget who we were. When we came home, the nursery was wrong. Not just different. Wrong. Everything was brand new and showroom perfect, but it looked like a stranger with a completely different taste had ordered it from a catalog. The bassinet was a low, rigid oval with matte black hardware and hard angles, more sculpture than cradle. The blankets were slate gray and stiff, tags still on, folded into razor-sharp rectangles. The warm, dimmable lamp I'd chosen was gone, replaced by a stark LED arc that poured cold light you couldn't soften. A sleek dresser sat where the wicker basket should have been, its handles an icy brushed steel. On the wall, a monochrome mobile of geometric shapes turned slowly, all charcoal and cream instead of the sage felt stars I'd picked. It was expensive, curated, functional, and nothing I wanted. My list had color, softness, a hand-stitched quilt from the shop on Maple. This room felt like a clinic. "Return it," I said. "All of it. I wanted the other things." Calm as a lecture, he said. "These are better. You're overwhelmed. Postpartum is hard." That sentence has a way of silencing women even when we're right. My mom stayed 4 weeks, then left. Not for appointments or obligations, but because Harry kept pressing, saying I needed quiet and that we'd handle it, until she packed her bag with a tight smile and hugged me longer than usual. The very next day after my mom left, I woke weak, limbs heavy, mouth dry, an IV tugging at my arm, in a hospital bed. The lights buzzed. A nurse hovered like a blown-out moon. "Where's my baby?" I rasped. "With her father," she said, crisp as a chart note. A doctor came in with a clipboard and my lab printouts. "You were brought in unresponsive," he said. "We ran your blood twice. fresh draws, new vials, new labels, and then a confirmatory test. You have prohibited substances in your system. The word landed like metal. That's impossible, I said. I barely drink. I don't use anything. He shook his head gently. The screening was positive, and the confirmation leaves virtually no room for error. There isn't a lab mistake here. I want to leave, I told him, trying to swing my legs off the bed. The room tilted. He checked my vitals, asked me to stay a few more hours for observation. They drew one more sample, chain of custody read aloud, labels double-checked, then finally cleared me once my numbers steadied. Harry didn't answer calls or texts. As I signed discharge papers, my email chimed, an emergency petition for temporary custody, maternal unfitness, risk to the child, already filed and waiting, like the next step in a plan I never agreed to. Something in me flipped from shock to clarity. Before I'd lived with Harry, I'd installed small safety cameras, habit from living alone, and then forgot to ever mention them. He didn't know they existed. I pulled the footage. There I was asleep in our bed. There was Harry, moving with his practiced calm. The angle was perfect. His face, his hands, the needle, timestamp glowing. He injected me, called the ambulance, and filed papers. I saved the clip. Even shaking, I knew it was leverage. I texted the video to Harry with one line. Bring me Mary, now, or I'm calling the police and handing them this. I did it because Mary didn't have the luxury of waiting on paperwork. If I called first, he could disappear, erase evidence, or spin a story while the hours bled out. He arrived in under 30 minutes, on time the way he always was, only this time the precision felt like a threat. He wasn't alone. Pamela stood a half step ahead of him with her coat still on, chin lifted, eyes hard. She was holding Mary. I'd braced for that, and still, seeing my daughter in her arms knocked the wind out of me. I'd set the chain on the door, the phone open in my palm, the video paused on the frame that showed Harry's face and the needle in the same band of lamplight. I cracked the door. "Where is she?" I asked, though I could see the edge of Mary's blanket, the familiar curl of her ear. Pamela didn't answer the question. "Open the door properly," she said, shouldering past Harry in tone if not in body. "You say the word police, and I open it," I said. "After you hand me my daughter." Harry's smile was the strained version, the one that used to pass for concern. "Savannah, we can resolve this calmly. Delete the video, there's no need to involve anyone." He'd seen the clip. I could hear it in the tightness of his voice. He hadn't expected me to have more than one copy. "There are originals and backups," I said evenly. "Cameras you didn't know existed. Bring me Mary. Now." Pamela lifted the blanket a fraction like a dealer flashing a card. "She's sleeping," she said coolly. "You're not going to wake her up over dramatics." "Give me my child," I said. "You're not listening." Pamela's voice sharpened. "We're here to make an exchange. You delete, we walk away. She stays with us. We have waited 15 years. Do you know what that costs? Needles, surgeries, money, time. You can have more children." "You're talking about my baby like a product," I said. "She isn't for trade. Hand her to me." Pamela tilted her head, assessing me the way you look at a flaw in a piece of glass. "You were found with prohibited substances. You can barely stand. Judges hate that. Social workers hate that. We have documentation." "Documentation you engineered," I said, tapping my screen. "This is not a debate, it's evidence." Harry's jaw flexed, but he kept his voice even. "Savannah, accusations?" "Not accusations," I cut in. "Timestamps, pixels, your hands, your face." I lifted the phone higher. "And before you try anything, if I stop responding, a friend walks this to a police station. If I don't text her in 5 minutes, she does it anyway." Pamela's mouth thinned. "You're bluffing." "Try me," I said. "Mary, now." Pamela shifted my daughter higher on her shoulder and took 2 deliberate steps forward, savoring the weight. "Do you know what it's like to want something so badly you start reorganizing the world to make room for it?" she asked, almost conversationally. "Yes," I said. I wanted a family. I didn't realize I'd been drafted as an instrument. That made her blink. Then contempt slid into place. You're an incubator who got precious at the end. Pam, Harry murmured, the warning note he used when he wanted to sound like a moderator. Don't Pam me, she shot back without looking at him. To me, you were never the point. He needed his child. We planned for this. Schools, tutors, budgets. We earned this. Injections and spreadsheets don't entitle you to a person, I said. Hand me my baby and leave. Pamela's gaze flicked to the chain, to my phone, back to my face. Calculation. She looked at Harry. She won't do it. She will, he said, eyes on me. He'd always loved the path of least resistance. Now he could see the math, the video, the backups, the threat of a report that would be filed the second something happened to me. A beat. Then, softly, to Pamela. Give Savannah the baby. Pamela's jaw worked. She stepped closer, slow and theatrical. If she cries, it's because you woke her, she said, as if I needed instruction. She eased Mary through the gap, forcing me to commit both arms before she released. The instant my daughter settled into me, warm, heavy, smelling faintly of a detergent I didn't own, my knees trembled. I gripped the doorframe and kissed her hair. She didn't wake. A sound rose in my throat that didn't have words. Close the door so we can speak like adults, Harry said. We are, I said. I slid the chain free but kept the door mostly shut, my shoulder wedged into it so they couldn't push in. Withdraw the petition. He blew out a sigh meant to read his patience. I'll call my attorney in the morning. Tonight, I said. Email me. CC your attorney. I want confirmation by breakfast. Pamela folded her arms, smile bare of warmth. You think a piece of paper keeps us away? No, I said. Copies keep you away. The kind I've already made. And the kind that will go to the DA the second you try anything. Harry tried on his old strategy like a jacket. Reasonable, soft-edged. Savannah, you're overtired. Postpartum. Stop using my body as your alibi, I said, the words coming out colder than I felt. This isn't fatigue, it's clarity. Pamela leaned in toward the crack, her perfume too sweet. We mapped this life, she said. We chose neighborhoods. We have resources you don't. Do you really think you can offer her what we can? Safety, I said. I can offer her safety. That's the only currency that matters tonight. Silence pooled. A car door slammed somewhere on the street. The hallway light hummed. Pamela's mask slipped just enough to show the anger underneath, pure, clean, undiluted. You'll regret this, she said softly. I already regret plenty, I said. Not this. She straightened. Let's go, she said to Harry, already turning, recalibrating. We take another road. Don't, I said, and they both paused. Whatever route you're imagining ends with felonies and headlines. You know that, Harry. He looked at the floor, then back at me. I watched the careful man he'd curated, neutral, tidy, soothing, flicker and then go still. Withdraw the petition, he repeated, like he needed to hear himself say it. No contact. Correct, I said. And if a detective calls, you answer, politely. His nod was curt, a decision made. You'll hear from my attorney tonight. Pamela moved first, heels hard on the hall tile. Enjoy your lamp, she said over her shoulder. It looks cheap. I shut the door, slid the chain, turned the deadbolt with my elbow because my arms were full and I wasn't putting Mary down yet. I stood there and listened to the hallway, footsteps, elevator, silence, until my heartbeat stepped back from my throat. Then I crossed to the couch and checked my baby. Fingers, toes, the crescent ear, the soft lint line in her neck. No marks, no bruises. I swapped the unfamiliar blanket for the lavender one my mother knitted, the one that still carried a ghost of a scent from my old house. I texted my friend the phrase we'd agreed on. Safe. Keep the copy. She replied with a heart I couldn't feel yet. 2 minutes later, an email pinged. Subject: emergency petition. A short, clinical body. Please be advised our client will be withdrawing the emergency petition forthwith. I forwarded it to 3 places and labeled the chain with a name only I would understand. Then I took a photo of Mary's face, only her face, nothing that revealed where we were, and sent it to my mother with 3 words. We are home. Home was mobile now, but in that moment, it was the weight of my daughter against my chest, the hum of the fridge, the one floorboard near the window that always clicked as the building settled. I left the video open on the coffee table, a small square of light like a contained fire. I didn't call the police yet. I didn't need the process to take my next breath for me. I would make the report on my timeline, with the right words, when Mary was fed and sleeping and I could think in complete sentences. Tonight was about the handoff, not the headlines. I kissed the soft place behind her ear and whispered the only vow that mattered now, the one I should have made to myself months ago. You are not an object in anyone's plan, not his, not hers, not mine. You are yours. And I am yours. And tonight, that is enough. I called Detective Hart that same night after Mary finally fell asleep on my chest and my hands stopped shaking enough to dial. I gave him the original file from the camera, the timestamps, the email where Harry's attorney promised to withdraw the petition. I answered the questions 3 times in 3 different ways because that's how these things go. When did you last feel well? Who else had access? Where were the cameras? Why didn't you call sooner? I told him because I was busy getting my child back. He didn't argue with that. My lawyer filed for a permanent protective order and for sole legal and physical custody. No visits, not even supervised, until the criminal case resolved. On paper, my side looked clean. The video, the labs, the emergency petition timed like a metronome to my hospital admission. But Harry hired a very good lawyer who spoke in calm paragraphs about misinterpretation, a medical misadventure, and postpartum instability, as if those phrases could sand down the facts. They filed motions about chain of custody, hinted the camera footage was spliced, suggested the lab had mixed vials. It's amazing how quickly the obvious becomes a debate when someone wealthy pays for it. While the filings stacked up like cold mail, I tried to build a moving life that still felt like a life. The first time I saw Pamela under our window, it was late afternoon. She stood on the sidewalk with her hands in her coat pockets and her face lifted toward our building like she was reading a menu. No phone, no flowers, just watching. She never looked up at our exact window. She didn't need to. Being near was the point. I called the police. They came, slow and professional, and took a report. By the time the cruiser reached the corner, she was gone. After that, I packed the bag for real. We started moving every 2 weeks. Sublets, short-term rentals, furnished places with too much art and not enough drawer space. I kept 1 lamp, the lavender blanket, and the same bedtime routine so Mary would recognize our life even if the walls changed. We're adventuring, I told her in the sing-song voice I used for everything now. We're explorers. She learned to nap anywhere. I learned which part of a new kitchen always feels like home, the second drawer with the forks. The case crawled in circles. His attorney asked for continuances. Mine warned me not to expect a single gavel strike to fix anything. The DA filed charges that sounded serious and also negotiable. Some mornings I woke convinced I would win everything and be done with them forever. Some afternoons I stared at my inbox and felt certain I would be ground down by delays until the day I died. Most days were somewhere in between. I changed diapers, I sent PDFs, I wrote timelines, I rocked a baby to sleep. I kept a notebook, letters to Mary she wouldn't read for years. I wrote down the parts I didn't know how to say out loud. How love can be a costume that fits too well. How kindness can be a strategy. How people will show you who they are in the small choices, if you're brave enough to add them up. I practiced what I might tell her when she asks the question I can feel moving toward us like weather. Where is my dad? Some drafts were soft. Your dad is not safe to be around right now. My job is to keep you safe. Some were sharper. Your dad loved the idea of you more than he loved the work of being good. Some tried for the exact center. He made dangerous choices, and love is measured by choices. None of them felt perfect because there isn't a perfect version. There's only the one that tells the truth without making her carry my hurt. In court, his lawyer kept saying "my client" like the phrase built a wall between Harry and what he'd done. Mine said "the child," with a steadiness I admired. I watched my video play on a monitor with no sound and felt both validated and violated. There is nothing sacred about your own bedroom once it becomes evidence. On a break, I stood in the hallway with my back against the cool paint and listened to two other attorneys argue about parking. It all felt absurd, and also exactly like how the world works. The worst moments of your life folded into paperwork while the building keeps humming. I don't know how this ends. I know what I'm asking the court to do. Strip him of custody, keep him away from us, make the paper mean something even to people who only respect outcomes. I know he has resources and that the law moves like an old river. Slow, sometimes in the right direction, often not. I know that every time we carry boxes up a new set of stairs, I am both exhausted and grateful we can still do it. I know that when I check the street from a second-floor window and see nothing but a delivery truck and a woman walking her dog, my shoulders drop an inch I didn't realize they were holding. At night, when Mary is asleep and the lamp throws that same small circle of light we've carried from place to place, I sit with the notebook open and try to write the sentence that will hold for us both. I try on a dozen, scratch most of them out. What survives most nights is simple. When you ask about your dad, I will tell you the truth we can live with. I will tell you he made choices that were not safe, and my job is to keep you safe. I will tell you that you were never a question mark. You were the answer. And however long this takes, whatever it costs, that part will not change. We're still moving. We're still here. And until the papers say what the evidence already does, I keep the stroller by the door. Not because we're running, but because we're ready.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to like, subscribe, and explore our channel for more love, betrayal, and redemption tales.